Good morning. On behalf of the Alliance of Women in Workers' Compensation, I would like to welcome you to today's webinar. Today's webinar is entitled, We Can't All Be Imposters, Can We? This is a live discussion between industry professionals that is being broadcast today, April 4th, 2024. Before we get started, I would like to thank our 2024 corporate sponsors for their support on hosting events such as this. They support us not because they want their logos up on a screen, but they support the cause, which is to effect positive change in the workers' compensation industry through networking, supporting, mentoring, and collaboration. The Alliance is inclusive of all professionals in workers' compensation, regardless of career stage, with the belief that we can all learn from and support each other. Our theme this year is Ignite Your Potential. Please be sure to head to the Alliance website for all upcoming events. We will be hosting webinars, collaboration sessions, and in-person events throughout the year as we provide resources and speakers to help you ignite your potential. Be sure to check back on our website for registration details, and if you can't make an event, don't worry. We will record all events and make available on our website. The Alliance has grown so much each year, and last year was no different. We continue to launch new chapters, so please be sure to connect with your local ambassador for upcoming events. If you would like more details on the ambassador program, please check out the replay of our January 25th webinar. Change is preceded by trust. It is through acceptance and inclusion that trust will be formed and positive impact will occur. The Alliance is committed to creating a safe space in the workers' compensation industry for women of diverse backgrounds and experiences through a shared culture that integrates various perspectives. This is who we are and who we will be. The time to do better and be better is now. The Alliance understands that diversity is a journey that will take time to make meaningful changes for our organization, its followers, and its supporters. We will be intentional in making progress along our key pillars of change. Learn more about the Alliance's DEI initiatives by checking out a replay of our February 29th panel discussion with the DEI Committee. And turning to today's webinar, we're so glad you're here today to take some time out of your busy schedule and check in on how we're feeling and discuss how imposter syndrome can creep up on any of us at any time, even when things seem to be going well and we least expect it. Our panelists will share examples of imposter syndrome and how losing confidence can really send us in the wrong direction to achieving our goals. We will also explore how imposter syndrome can be used as a tool for personal and professional growth. Our panelists today are Pamela Cottrell, Claims Director, Global Risk Management at Aramark, and Desinee Dwyer, partner at Cipriani and Werner. This is a live session, so please utilize the chat feature throughout the webinar with your thoughts to engage with our panelists and your fellow members about this topic. This topic impacts all of us, so please ask any questions of our panelists. Thank you for the time you're spending with us today, and we truly hope you enjoy this webinar.
Hi, good afternoon or good morning, wherever you are across the country. Thank you for joining us. We know that you're all very busy and we appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk about this important topic. My name is Desinee Dwyer. I am a managing partner in the Cipriani and Werner Philadelphia office. I specialize in workers' compensation and was invited to join this panel by Pam. And I have to admit, because this is, what this is about, that my first thought was, really, me? So I think this is very poignant and important for us to talk about. Pam, can you say a few words about yourself?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Pam Cottrell, and I'm the Director of Claims here at Aramark. And I have been in the claims industry for over 30 years. We'll just leave it at that. So, love the claims space and the insurance space. And thank you all for joining us today to talk about this very important topic. So hopefully some of you were fortunate enough to listen to a webinar that took place about a year ago with Kelly Cage. This is not the first time that this imposter syndrome topic has come up within the Alliance, and that's for a very good reason, because it is an ongoing and very important topic worth discussing again and again. So Kelly did a fantastic job in her presentation. She talked about the science of the imposter syndrome, studies surrounding the imposter syndrome. So Des and I are going to take this in a little bit of a different direction, just talking more about like the day-to-day and the feelings and the touchy-feely part of imposter syndrome. So one of the things that stuck with me from Kelly's previous webinar was she just made it, she cut to the chase and made it pretty simple. So what sticks in the mind for me is know the signs of imposter syndrome, and let go of perfectionism, right? Meet yourself with compassion and embrace it. So I know when we're in the moment, it's hard, but those are, pretty good tips that hopefully all of us can remember when we find ourselves in this situation. So Des, can you talk a little bit about why this topic is so important?
Absolutely. One of the things that really hit me personally when you asked me to be part of this was that I started to think, when did I first feel imposter syndrome? When I didn't know what it was called. I didn't know it had a name or anyone else felt the same way as I did. But I realized I've had these feelings since I was 8 years old. It wasn't when I was a professional. It wasn't when I was in a courtroom. It wasn't when I was managing anyone. I was 8. And I remember walking into the gifted classroom for the first time and thinking, oh, they're going to realize I don't belong here. I shouldn't be here. And I didn't know at the time what that was. So I think this is important because it's something that so many of us have felt, whether it's just intermittently throughout our lives or constantly, to know that we're not alone. And, when this topic and this talk came up and I told people about it, I was truly shocked at the number of men that said, yeah, been there. And, maybe it's just that those blinders, but this affects everyone. The more I read and the more I learn about imposter syndrome, the more I realize it affects everyone, every part of your life, for various reasons, whether it's a promotion, a new job title, switching fields, or just, meeting new people in your day-to-day life. So this is something that affects us constantly, affects everyone at some point, and isn't talked about. So the importance of talking about it and letting everyone know they aren't alone will help us get past it and help us cope with it. The other importance of this is that we need to remember that it's okay to feel these ways, to have these thoughts, but also that we can't let them control. We cannot let them be in charge of the way we proceed and self-sabotage ourselves. So having talks, opening the doors, I think it will help all of us move forward together and be stronger in the end, and set realistic goals for ourselves and others as we deal with people, manage people. Pam, can you tell us a little bit about, from what you've read, learned, how imposter syndrome comes about, and some of the origins of that and concerns?
All right. So, a lot of times I think the biggest thought around imposter syndrome is fear that you'll be discovered as a fraud, right? And feeling like you don't belong, in that room with those people. If you receive a compliment or some praise, you're feeling like you're not deserving of that. Oh, they're just being nice. They don't really mean that. They had to say something. Feeling like you're unworthy of success, right? So when you reach a new milestone, or when you tried really hard and you achieve something, you self-sabotage and say, well, I don't really even know that I deserve this, or I should have this success. You may feel anxious or depressed around, certain situations or certain things, and you might feel undertrained. You might feel, oh, I don't really know enough, in this area to consider myself an expert, or to put in my 2 cents. Or I really want to apply for that job, but it's probably too big for me, or it's probably too hard. So those are some of the things. And then another really big one, and I'm going to let Des interject here. I can see she's already trying to get in there. Feeling like you just got lucky. Okay. You just simply, you are where you are, you've gotten, the job, or you've, made your way in somehow because of luck, right? And that definitely is not the case. So Des, take it away.
Yeah, I'm laughing because this is one of my biggest pet peeves. And something I've been guilty of saying. We say, oh, it was just luck. It was just luck. I was in the right place at the right time. Now, there are situations where, yeah, maybe that happens, but for the most part, I truly believe we make our own luck. Uh, Years ago, I was at the Pennsylvania Workers' Compensation Convention and the conference up in Hershey, and I met someone in the line for bagels in the morning, made some small talk, chatted up. They're still a client that I work with to this day, and it's been well over a decade. And I remember somebody saying to me, "Oh, you always get lucky." Well, yes and no. Was there luck in the sense that we were both in the bagel line at the same time? Yeah. But was it luck that I talked to the person, that I asked their name, got their details, followed up with them, kept in touch with them, did all the work that came after that? That absolutely wasn't luck. Luck would be if, somebody just threw a file in the air and it just blew into my window and said, "Hey, here you go. Here's a shot." And I think that we often minimize ourselves. All people minimize themselves by just, "Oh, it was luck." Because we don't want to give ourselves the credit for the hard work either. And so I often will, gently say to people, "Was it really luck though?" And they'll say, "Well, no, I did this and that." Well, yeah, that was hard work. That wasn't luck. So I laugh because I know that we do that, but I also think it's something people use to minimize others. They say, when they don't want you to think that you belong there, or they want, maybe they're feeling it themselves, they're trying to minimize someone else to put you on equal ground. They'll say, "Yeah, well, that was just luck," because they didn't do the hard work. And so, I think that it's something we need to be aware of, and it can be a symptom of imposter syndrome. But again, don't minimize the work that you do, that others do, and leave it to, chance.
Right.
So, along with that is the confidence. I only realized, like I said, I was guilty of saying, it was luck, until I got to a certain level of confidence, and was able to say, "Wait, you know what? No, that wasn't luck. That was my work." And it took me a while to get there. So I'm gentle and understanding of that. But Pam, what are your thoughts on how confidence plays into imposter syndrome and how we act based on that?
Right. And, confidence is really hard to define, and it means different things to different people, right? Probably the majority of us do feel confident in certain ways and in certain areas of our lives. And we may at other points, not feel confident. So, one of the things that goes along with the imposter syndrome is losing confidence. And losing confidence, whether it's for just a short time, whether it's a longer, standing time, but I'll give you, an example. So something happens at work that throws you off a little bit. Maybe there's a miscommunication with another coworker, a meeting goes south, you have a run-in or a disagreement with another colleague that makes you feel a certain way. Or maybe even it's just another colleague that's having a bad day that's kind of projecting, that onto you. But then what happens if you're losing confidence is that you begin to internalize that. And you say to yourself, oh, this must be my fault. This has to be something that I did. I must have misunderstood. And when you lose confidence like that, it really does set you back. On a personal level, of course, but then also on a professional level, because then maybe you're dwelling in that and then you're not feeling good about yourself and you're not doing your best work and you're not putting, your best foot forward. And when Des and I were, talking about this, one of the points, that she made, which was, really good, is it's important to know who you can trust, right? When something like that happens, when you've lost your confidence, you have to have those people, whether they're coworkers or other people in your life, that you can talk to about, what happened, talk about your feelings, talk about your loss of confidence. And you know what? Honestly, the people that support you are going to appreciate your vulnerability, and they're going to, look at you as a genuine person who is free to admit that they're shaken, that they've lost confidence. There could, unfortunately, be some people who might, use that against you for whatever reason, possibly. So, you just need to make sure that you have the right support. And that leads us, to just, a comment about mentoring, right? Having that person, preferably outside the company, that is your mentor and is, in a, similar situation as yourself, maybe just at a different place, that can understand and can kind of, talk you through and ground you, right? Keep you objective, but also, just, get you out of whatever loss of confidence that you have and let you continue to work to either build back or just build your confidence in general. And, just another little side note, right? Everybody here should maybe think about being someone's mentor, right? We all pay it forward. We all have had mentors at one point. We all know that we, need mentors. So maybe there is someone that you could be a mentor for. So kind of just a little sidebar and, something to think about. So Des, you had talked a little bit earlier about you at 8 and, feeling already like an imposter, back then. I don't know if you have any other, personal experiences, or maybe you could talk, a little bit about comparing yourself to other people, right? Your journey versus their journey.
Yeah. And before we do, I just want to, for anybody who didn't see it, somebody put a quote, and I'm sorry, things are moving so quickly. Chance favors those in motion. And I thought that was, it's a great quote. It's to that luck topic. You make your own luck. Chances is coming to those who are making it available to them. So many examples. It's funny sitting here. It's ironic for me sitting here today because growing up, my biggest fear was public speaking. Absolute. It horrified me. If I went up to speak in front of a class, my papers were doing this the whole time. I was talking like this. I couldn't even stop. I couldn't look up. And it was mortifying. I hated it. I wanted to be a lawyer since I was also, ironically, 8. It was a big year in my life for many reasons. And I knew that I was going to have to get past that at some point. I didn't know how. And I think part of the reason I felt like an imposter in those situations was because I was too scared to say, I don't know, or admit I didn't have an answer. I felt like if I didn't know everything about everything, then they were going to know I was a fraud and they were going to be able to catch me in it. And I didn't want to get caught in that situation. I found a lot of strength as I got older, ironically, mostly after law school. We were talking before we got on today about moot court, which was mortifying to me. And now I do this all the time and I love it. But, we talk about mentors. We talk about confidence. I think one of my favorite stories takes place about 14 years ago, or 13 or 14 years ago, but only really came full circle in the last year. I changed firms and came to my current firm and was actually on a trip with someone here who was senior to me. And they said, on that trip, well, we were going to meet a client, and I thought it went well. I thought it was great. We landed the client. Everything was great. A year ago, they said, "You were horrible. You did such a bad job." They were much kinder and gentler. And, but they said it for a reason. They said, "I didn't tell you then because it would have broken your confidence. And I knew you had it in you. I knew what you had. And I knew that if I told you, it would affect everything you did after that and maybe stop you." But they told me a year or two ago because I was dealing with someone in the other way, in the role. Had somebody younger. I was the senior person, and, I was dealing with some struggles for them and trying to help them through it. And they said, sometimes it's not telling the person, it's keeping that inside and letting them build the confidence, even if it's kind of built on, a shaky foundation there, because they got past it. And they said, "I'm so proud of where you've come to." And they're, I'm glad they did what they did. They also waited until I was at a point where I could handle that criticism and that critique and kind of brush it off, because, I was at a better place. So I think, with mentorship, it's also being very gentle about who's on the other side. I often think back to a story, and I'm telling the story with the person's permission, of after I had my second child. My life was hectic. I tell everybody who will listen and those who don't even want to hear it, the change from 0 to 1 kid was nothing compared to 1 to 2. All of a sudden, my husband and I were both hands-on. Nobody was doing anything, and I was struggling. And somebody at the firm who had a child after me came in, who was younger, and said, "I don't know how you do it." They just broke down. They came to my office, broke down crying. "And I don't know how you do it. You're out marketing, and you're running your files, and you have 2 kids, and you have it all together." And I said, "I'm really sorry, because if that's what you think, I'm not doing a good enough job of being authentic to you." And it wasn't on purpose. I think I was just trying to hold it together. But it's a big reminder of trying to be gentle with yourself, because you're often comparing your worst day to someone else's highlight film, and I think that's only gotten worse with social media, Instagram, and you see the perfect house. What you don't see is off screen, all the clutter pushed away, and the kids' books piled up, and the paper plates because they didn't have time to do dishes. We often compare ourselves to other people when it's not apples to apples. You're a first-year associate comparing yourself to an equity partner who's had 20 years to get it right. You're trying to be something that you can't be, and that only feeds into the "I shouldn't be here. I'm not good enough because look at what they can do that I can't do." And so I feel this to this day. There's times I go into meetings, there's times I go into rooms, and I think, "Whew, I'm not sure why I'm in here," and I had to check myself and think, they're probably all thinking the same thing to some extent, or hoping somebody else doesn't figure out what they don't know. And as we go through this process, we can't let it knock us so far off. The other thing is, if you find there's somebody that every time you talk to them, they only make you feel worse. You go into somebody, and like you said, Pam, to your point, knowing who you can trust. You go into them and say, "Oh, I'm having the worst day. Everything's falling apart. I just can't get anything right." And they go, "Yeah, life's great here. Look how awesome I am, and look how I have everything together. Oh, and did I also tell you I'm doing this and this and this and this and this?" And that's not who you need. That's not who you need to get you through it. They're not, the truth is, they're probably feeling it too, and they're using that as an opportunity to feel better and make themselves feel better. So, I work in what we all do, right? For the most part, I mean, a male dominated field. And again, men feel this as well. I just think that oftentimes being sometimes the only woman in a room or one of a few women in a room can also make you feel, because when you look around the room, I don't belong here. Or, it kind of gives you that perception, but of course we do. Of course. And the men too. I mean, I have amazing men that I work with that will absolutely say, you belong here more than I do. And I have to check myself and say, all right, no, I don't, but knowing who those people you can trust are and going to them, male, female, older, younger, internal, external, sometimes the people we need are the people that we don't expect. They're younger. I've learned just as much from the people I've mentored that and then they've probably learned from me. It reminds me of where I've come, how far I've come, and how far I still have to go. It's always a process, We got a question here. And maybe you want to speak about this too, Pam. What advice would you give to early career professionals about dealing with this and being in those rooms? You want to speak to that?
Sure. So, I would say that it's going to be different, right, for every single person. And we certainly don't want to be overly confident, to the point where, we're not able to still continue to learn. We can't be, oh, I know everything, I'm great. I don't need to learn anything else. I don't need to grow or develop. So I would say that, and it's one of the things that I'm going to talk about in a few moments in a book that I read. My advice would be to try to create an awareness of when something like that is happening. So, right, you go into a situation, you're in there and your wheels start turning in your head. Oh, I shouldn't be here. I don't belong here. Then it's like, shift your focus. Okay, I do belong here. And I'm on this journey like everybody else, and I know a lot and can contribute a lot, and I can also learn a lot, right? So address it right in the beginning, when you're feeling it, and then hopefully you can redirect it, right at that time, because I think a lot of us never really had this awareness. We knew we had these feelings. We didn't know it was called imposter syndrome. We didn't know that books were written about it, and the entire world was joining us in these feelings. So now that we know, we can take a little better control of it.
Yeah, we have some great comments in the chat. Angel said, love that point. Surrounding ourselves with others who show up in truth can help motivate us, but can help us feel normal, and that everyone is dealing with something that is hard. And, just normalizing these conversations, exactly what you're saying. And another comment from Missy, those that tear us down to lift themselves up are living in a foundation based on fear. And often, they are, I try to catch myself and give them the grace that they're probably having the same struggle I am, that they're just dealing with it in another way that may not be, in my perspective, is healthy, or healthy for those around them. But it's coming from a place of, like you said, fear or whatever they're in that moment. There was another comment, and I absolutely love this because this is something I know I've said as well. I don't know, but I know how to find out. It's such a superpower, but it takes so much time to get there. And I have probably said that to people so many times. And honestly, that was the superpower that got me past my fear of public speaking. Not only is it true, I would always kind of make a joke about it as a lawyer. I don't know, and it would probably be malpractice for me to guess. So let me find out. I'll get back to you. it's also a great marketing opportunity. It gave me an excuse to bug you a week later and follow up without feeling like I was annoying anyone. Or, when you get into this world, especially the marketing part of it, it's hard to know when you're welcomed or crossing a line or being annoying to someone. But if they asked me for it, of course it's okay if I follow up. So it took me a long, long time to get there too. And it is one of the first things I tell people now. It's okay to say I don't know. It's the truth. And if you are your authentic self, it's easier to feel like you belong and you're wanted because it's you. You're not playing a role. So why don't you, Pam, you mentioned the book you just read. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. So there was a great book that I stumbled upon. I kind of got the idea from Kate before when she had mentioned, there's so many books written. So I found a book called Overcoming Imposter Syndrome. It's written by Beth Caldwell. And, great book. She talks about how much courage it takes to be different. Right, to go against what everybody else thinks or says, especially if it's a person that's a boss or a boss's boss. If they have one opinion, then you're kind of like, ooh, okay, good. Like I'll just zip it. My opinion differs. I mean that that takes a lot of courage to be able to deliver a different opinion or a suggestion, obviously professionally. And for a lot of us, the mere thought of visibility or any kind of attention can trigger imposter syndrome. Don't look at me, don't talk to me. I'm just going to keep my head down, let everybody else, talk. Because honestly, a fear kicks in for us that says, what are other people going to think? Are they going to be laughing in their head or out loud at what I've just said? Are they going to think, I'm ridiculous? How many times has someone like raised their hand and then, pulled it down? Oh, never mind. I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say. So, and you shouldn't really think of it that way. You should think of it as remembering the times that you did speak up and something good came of it. Right. Oh, yeah. Remember when I had that great idea and I brought that forward and, that was great and everybody appreciated it. People are probably thinking in their heads, thank you for saying that because I wanted to say it and I didn't have the courage. Right. So thank you for saying it. Or there was maybe a comment that you made or a suggestion and it changed a policy or a procedure. Someone else hadn't thought about it and it was a great idea. So whenever you're really doubting your contribution or what you might want to say, don't, right? So find that courage, say it. And then the more you do it, the more comfortable you become doing it, right? And like I said, of course, with professional, boundaries around it. And trust your instincts. I feel like I have very good intuition and instincts, and I try to follow that. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. If something feels okay, it probably is. So just a couple really quick examples that were in this book. Mary Kay Cosmetics, her name is Mary Kay Ash. She created Mary Kay Cosmetics with her $5,000 retirement savings that she had set aside. And she did that because she wanted women to be paid fairly and for women to have the ability to move up in a company. So look what she has done, the women that she has empowered. She changed the business world in a sense to have all these female entrepreneur business owners controlling their own future. She did all of that based on a gut instinct. This is what I want to do. I'm not afraid to do it, and I'm going to do it. Oprah Winfrey is another example. She trusted her gut when everyone was telling her, don't move to Chicago to take that job you were offered. Her boss told her, you take that job, you can guarantee that your career is over. Oprah took the job. She is a multi-billionaire, and she is one of the biggest media influencers of the century. She trusted her gut and she went with what she felt was best, and it paid off in spades. Right. So the book has a lot of, comments about that, about taking a chance, going outside your comfort zone, pushing yourself. And then, just quickly, now that we're also aware about this and about these feelings, don't fall into the trap, right? So this book, Overcoming the Imposter Syndrome, talks about 3 very simple things that you can do when in situations that you are even slightly know you might be uncomfortable in. So notice the pattern. When does the imposter syndrome come out for you? What are the situations that you're in? How can you prepare for those situations or change your mindset to go into the situation, with a different mindset, right? I know I'm not going to feel comfortable here, but I'm going to join in. I'm going to take part. I'm going to offer my suggestions. And that, Nicole Patterson just said, mindset is critical. And she's right. It is. You have to be in the right, frame of mind. And then the second thing is to catch yourself in that imposter moment. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm doing it again. I was going to raise my hand and I just pulled it down. And you know what? Nope, my hand's going up. Realize that it's taking place. Okay, it's like the second thing. And then finally, just try to catch the imposter before he or she even appears, right? The first couple times it's going to be awkward, but raise your hand. Thank you for that compliment. It's very kind of you. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I'm able to gather that information. Here's something that I've experienced. So kind of just throw yourself in there, and I bet you'll be surprised how things, change for you. The author had a really great quote that I liked that I wanted to share with you. Don't let thoughts and fears keep you from doing what you were meant to do. The world is waiting for your gifts, right? So there's a lot of good stuff inside, and we just have to figure out a way that we can be comfortable to bring it out.
And I apologize in advance. I can't remember which meeting it was at. I know it was at one of the national, either RIMS or national in Vegas, the Women's Alliance event. We had a speaker, and they talked about, learning about different styles of, when you're in management and working with different people. I feel like it may have been Vegas last year. The idea that sometimes you have to give people information before meetings. And I say that, I'm bringing this up because if you know there's someone on your team, or you're going to have a meeting and there's someone on your team that doesn't speak up but has great ideas, maybe give them the idea of, or give them the topic before you go in and say, if you have anything that you maybe want to bring in, get it to me before the meeting and I'll bring it in for you. Once or twice that they do that and see that they have a great idea, hey, somebody suggested this, I have this great idea, what do you guys think about that? It can help them overcome it by seeing that their idea was accepted and that they could have said it and it would have been accepted. But if they're too scared to speak up, because whatever reason, they're new to the company, they're really young, it's their, it's our job as leaders and mentors and managers to learn how to get that out of them and build them up to, I think back and wish at different times in my life that somebody had said to me, let's talk about this before we have this meeting so that you can process it and formulate an idea, and you're not doing it on the fly. There are other people that have to hear it at that meeting, and they'll come to you a week later with an idea. So making sure that you know who you're working with and how you can best bring these things out of them as well is key, and it will help people to overcome these hurdles and grow. You know, if they have the questions, you know, I did that with this. I posted on my LinkedIn and I said, you know, we're gonna be talking about this. If anybody has stories, questions, examples that you want to privately send to me, you know, feel free. And I had a couple people reach out to me with questions or suggestions, and some of those I'm reading now, you know, and I want to just suggest that it's something that I found to be really useful and beneficial with my team, because everybody processes information differently. And the truth is that some people aren't able to process it on the fly and formulate and do that. And it's not because it's not that they shouldn't be there, but that can make them feel like they don't belong there because they can't process something like someone else does. So I just wanted to add that in there. One of the questions I got from before was, you know, how have you been able to create a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset? And, you know, I'll answer and then I'll throw it over to you, Pam. For me, it's just been seeing things in action, seeing what works and what doesn't, you know, trial and error really. And I think a lot of it's just aging and experience, you know. I'm not, you know, I as much as I hate to admit it sometimes, you know, I'm not the young kid on the block anymore. And, you know, I joke and I say I hate to admit that I actually love it. You know, people asked me when I was going to my 40s if I was fearing it. I said, nah, 40s have been my favorite decade so far. I feel like I'm more myself. I feel like I know who I am more. I mean, I'm owning it. And I wish I had that confidence, you know, in my 20s and 30s. But I think some of that just comes with experience. But the other thing is just coming to a place where I've been able to give myself grace. I was always able to give other people grace. Always. That wasn't a problem. Giving myself the same grace. And I had a couple of people who kind of knocked me upside the head, and one or two of them were on this meeting, and they said, why would you say that about them but not yourself? You know, give yourself the same grace, and learning that, you know, I'm a work in progress just like everyone else, and has really opened me up to that. So Pam, what about you? I mean, what's helped you build that growth mindset?
I would say taking responsibility is you know, one thing. You know, Des, you said owning, you know, owning the feelings, owning it. You know, self-awareness, being able to analyze a situation or to look at something and know that you're not, you know, you can't know everything, and you can't, you know, have nothing more to learn and all of that. So I think that growth mindset comes with the ability to be self-aware and to take responsibility.
Right. And in the chat, somebody offered the citation of the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins, that it helps break the habit of self-doubt. And somebody else suggested Mel Robbins' podcast. So those are just some more sources. We are getting close to time here. And, you know, I know we all I shouldn't say I know that. I know I overbooked myself. So I'm sure there's others on this. So maybe we'll try to let you guys break out a few minutes early to sneak a cup of coffee and a breath before you have to get back to your next scheduled thing. But, you know, I want to make sure that we end this on a positive note always. And there are benefits to imposter syndrome. And I don't want to, I think that we would be doing a disservice to ignore those. Some of the benefits are that it makes people more people-oriented. And you know, some of the things I just discussed are examples of that. You know, I look at what I've been through and what, you know, continue to go through, and try to put myself, you know, in their place, the empathy of that. If somebody isn't speaking up and isn't getting involved, why could that be? Could it be that they feel they don't belong? Well, you know what? As a manager, that is also an inclusivity issue. Is there an inclusivity roadblock or hurdle that only a certain group are speaking up? If whether that's at a women's alliance event and the men don't feel that they can speak up, and they certainly can. There are men that come to these events and it is wonderful, the insights they have, and they are so welcome. But if they weren't ever speaking up, that's a hurdle. If we're in a meeting and only the partners, again, I'm at a law firm, so I'm speaking in that world, but if only the partners are speaking up and the associates don't feel like they have a voice, that's my job to make sure that that hurdle is taken away. So it can clue us into those types of issues as a business. There's the Yerkes-Dodson, and that's, for anyone who wants to look it up, YERKES-DODSON, stress performance curve, which essentially in layman's terms is at some point, the stress increases performance only to a point. If it jumps too high, you're too stressed, your performance is going to drop too. So finding that sweet spot, it can push us out of our comfort zones. It can push us to be better. It can push us to try new things or look at different perspectives, which can open us up. Again, which also speaks to the DEI issues that are key and are so important in management and our world. Why aren't we getting different perspectives? Is it because we don't have people in the room, or because the people in the room don't feel as though they have a voice and can speak up? We need to keep our eye on that. And it also helps us make better decisions because we're looking at different angles. We're not looking at a problem only from one angle and ignoring other options as to how we can answer a problem or fix something or move forward. So there are definitely positives to be taken from this. I think it also, for me, I think one of the positives has been that it's helped me become more authentic in my interactions. I always felt that I had to be a certain way and never show fear and never, back down. And the truth is that I've created much better relationships, stronger, healthier, longer lasting business relationships by being authentic and knowing who I can trust and trusting those people. I have so many people that I've met through alliance events or, through this world that aren't just business contacts. They're friends and they're allies and people I trust. I wouldn't have had that if I wasn't my authentic self. We have a couple other comments. Kara Lowenthal, and I'm going to censor myself here, suggested the book, The Unf Your Brain. It's the actual word, but I think it's F star or F asterisk CK, Your Brain. It goes into psychology and feminism. And there was some advice offered. Get out if you're in an environment where you feel differently about yourself, your heart, your knowledge, or your accomplishments, or if you find yourself falling into a depression in any form. And that is such an important point. We are so much more than what we do. This is a huge part of our lives. If at some point it becomes unhealthy, whether it's your business, whether it's the area you're in, physically or in, area of business, and it is unhealthy and you are being shoved down or you're shoving yourself down and it is making you second guess yourself. You really need to rethink that because, there's more than this. This is a part of us. It's an important part. I love my career. I'm very proud of my career. But if it was destroying other aspects of my life, you know, that I'd have to rethink that. So I think that's a great piece of advice, and I thank you for that. So Pam, you know, as we wrap up, any other positives or you know, ending comments that you wanted to make?
I think I made a very good choice of who I wanted to be on this panel today. So I think a lot of good insights were shared. And, you know, I just love the fact that, you know, people are interested in this, are, you know, are talking about it, are aware of it. And there was a comment earlier that just kind of blipped by me, but it was basically like, you know, I'm cheering for everyone, right? Whether people reach their goals before me, whether they do something differently or whatever, it's like we're all cheering for everyone, right? And wishing success and not tearing each other down and moving forward. So I've enjoyed today, and I hope that everyone has enjoyed, you know, today. And I guess if there is anything else, you know, just pop it in the chat real quick. Otherwise, I think we'll end here.
So Pam, what you're saying is my initial thought of, are you sure me, was wrong. I'll remember that. No, I had a great time. I appreciate you asking me. I'm thankful for that. And you just reminded me of my favorite quote is a flower doesn't compare itself to the flower next to it. It just blooms. You know, flower's not out there saying, oh, that tulip's prettier than I am. It just does its thing. And you have a beautiful garden because they're all doing your own thing. So let's just, you know, my favorite quote. And is there anything else? I have somebody in here helping me. Actually, my law clerk is in here helping me. She's a 3L. So it's been interesting having her in here for this as well. She's had a couple comments she's shared with me. Do we have any other comments, questions, anything? I don't want to ignore anyone. For anyone who's going to be out at RIMS in a couple weeks, I will be there. I look forward to seeing you. Please know that whatever room I'm in, you're welcome there and you belong there. You know, hopefully I belong in the same one. But if there's nothing else, have a great day. Go enjoy.